rounds, as well as players that have been in the spotlight as of recently and also in the past. We do have our pick and ban, so let's go ahead and dive deep and take a look at the maps that we're going to be rolling with. We did talk about Ritual. That's where we're starting. Fury One, they picked that. So again, a stronger argument, Toby, that we were discussing, that hey, Fury One might feel very confident and might open up this series with a great win. And then check out Execution. I can't not stress enough how many times we have seen so many dominant teams lose on checkout. So again, even though we see Outcast pick that, Fury One might be able to take the first two maps.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Checkout I see picked by a lot of the time the stronger teams, the favorites to win series, and if you're not KCP, a lot of the time it can backfire on you, right? And I think this really plays into Fury One. If they can win, you know, the first map, go into the second with a bit of momentum, we could see them just throw four checkout and win those shotgun battles over and over, and before you know, Outcast are 2-0 down if they're not careful, right? Vasgar Escalation in particular, again, not too sure about Fury's usual picks. They're probably going with what they feel with most comfortable against Outcast. And meanwhile, of course, Outcast going for the more standard Regency control. If we do, of course, see it in map number 4, they will probably want to slow things down a little bit and rely on that experience, that teamwork that we spoke about, IGL, etc. Team Execution, if we do get to it, Taylor, I have a funny feeling maybe we see it today in this matchup. That will be a very interesting one. That battle in the middle, of course.
Yes.
Speaking just generally, globally speaking, with a lot of these teams, Fire and Ice were extremely good in the middle area.
Right.
And I think it kind of resonates with a lot of these different teams at this level.
Yeah, fair enough. It still wouldn't be easy for Fury One if we do get to that point. But honestly, if we get to that point, I do believe it's going to embolden Fury One more so than it would for Outcast. I think Outcast mentality heading into the series is they're going to win it 3-0, 3-1. That's just the confidence they're going to have, especially looking at the Fury One roster. But that overconfidence can bite you in the butt. And again, if it does go to map 5, that tomb, it would be interesting. I would probably benefit Outcast there. But again, the mentality for Fury One must be great because, hey, they're going to game 5 against a great team. But let's go ahead and talk about our predictions because we got to back up one team in this series. And I think we've made it pretty apparent that Outcast should be our favorite. So Outcast is going to be my pick to win this series. You got a lot of veteranship. You got a lot of experience, not only recently, but also in the past. I think this roster is going to make waves in Pro League if they do end up qualifying from this map, or excuse me, from this series number 1. It is a qualification match after all. And also, qualification match pressure is going to be high here. And I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact on Outcast mentality, more so than it will on Fury One. They're my favorite. Toby, what about you?
Yeah, similar kind of sentiment. I think Fury One impressed me a little bit, actually, with the amount of maps they got off Noble and Elevate in the group play of the major. But it's not enough for me. I have to stick with my brain, and I think Outcast are going to be the favorites going into this one.
Yeah, I think they definitely are. And chat, who are you going with? You going Latin America? You going NA? Are you going with the roster that stayed together? The roster that made change? What? Really? Is that true? Really? Fury One? Hey, honestly, not even mad. Again, Fury One. Look,
I know, same.
They're a roster that is incredibly talented, okay? You can't, okay. Why, though? I want to know, chat. Fury One, is it just the sentiment of Latin America, or is it really like you guys are like, yeah, Fury One is the better team here? Look, and again, it's no offense to any team. I just want to know, like, what's the mindset here? This is fantastic. I wasn't expecting this, Toby. This makes the series that much more interesting to me.
I agree totally, and I just saw your reaction. I needed to burst out laughing there almost.
I wasn't expecting
like, what?
Yeah,
but no, fair enough. And a part of me is not surprised though, because it's a Latin American roster. They perform pretty well, and kind of, in my assumption, they probably put themselves on the radar a little bit in the region by their performances in group play. They're like, wait, they took them to map 5 again. They a lot of Latin American fans probably looking at this roster and be like, I think this team has potential. They were really close, and now they've probably gained a lot of supporters since then. Not too surprised, but again, chat, come on, Outcast, they have some history. Individuals, the team, I think they're the favorites.
I'm wondering if they're thinking about like that Hive roster that just couldn't get a win, and you have 3/4 of the Hive roster here. I think also that might have a reason why chat decided to go with Fury One, but I like your sentiment better, Toby. I really do. Fury One, they took teams to the brink every single time right there in pool play, and I think they're about to do it again. Let's head into map number 1, Ritual Control, and we're starting off with Jaled to start off. Look, Jaled, a talented player, not shy at all. Look at him. All Fury pushing forward, trying to get the best of Bronny. Smokes out. It's chaotic. The only player that was marked was actually Aimboot, so Fury One, Jaled tried to take advantage of that to push forward, but now we've got a bit of a stalemate, and I must say, this is showing me that Outcast are showing great respect to Fury One. They're not as confident to push into him, but once they start, it doesn't look like they're going to stop. Bronny, he's already on fire, taking down 1, takes down the 2nd, going in for the 3rd. He's got to hunt him down. He'll eventually back up, but now he's got the confidence. He pushes forward, and that is 3 for Bronny to start off map 1.
Hey, good start from Bronny there. That's kind of the aggression you want to see, right?
Yep. All right, well, here we go. Fury One looking to go for another break. Jaled taking down Bronny, getting a bit of a revenge. You like to hear that. You like to see that as they do push forward. It's going to have Ness, a.k.a. Cellz, going to be on your screen. Torque bow down in his hands. An opportunity for Fury One to at least get the torque bow, get 2 more shots out of it if they do, in fact, get it. But looks as if they're just going to continue to push out. Not a bad play. Bronny, though, back at it once again, stopping the troops before they push forward. Last move with the nade in hand, though. This is going to force at least a couple of members out from Outcast. The battle for New Hill is in, and it looks like Outcast might have the advantage, but Ventry is looking to break.
Yeah, absolutely so. Fantastic showing so far. Now, Lava as well needs to help out Cellz a little bit. This is what I mean. It gets a tiny bit scrappy now as you get to the next hills on Ritual. Plenty of covers to close the gap. But let's see. Lava has been able to get some control there on the right-hand side. Last move, his move literally will be trying to rip that spawn control away, but Bronny falling by the wayside, the numbers coming a little bit towards the way of Fury One. Cellz trying to do exactly what he can, and that's bring down the numbers back to more of a balance before the rest of the Fury roster comes through. Yachty being taken out as well. Meanwhile, Jaled and co, they have been able to push across the right, meaning they've got a bit of a cover advantage now.
Cover advantage, but is it going to be enough? It does, at least not the case for Cellz as he takes down 1. Lava follows suit, and that is telling. Look at how well set up Fury One was inside the hill. And Outcast pushes in confidently, and they clear out the hill very quickly. Now, that's something Fury One has to take note of. Their defensive setups can easily get broken because Outcast, they're moving in with a purpose, they're moving in confidently, and they're pushing up. Now, as individuals, that can be scary, but again, they're filling themselves, and they have no reason to feel that they're going to lose this series. Outcast, they're all piss and vinegar at this point. Bronny will take down 1, pushes into a 2nd. So Yachty pushes out, he challenges Fury One before they can even touch the hill, and then once Yachty dies off, Bronny then takes his place and pushes forward once again. Again, the confidence from the individual on Outcast is there, but Fury One can take advantage of this, Toby. They can see Outcast pushing out as individuals. They can Wolfpack 2v1 these guys, and if they can win, well, they can take a big advantage over Outcast, but they have to find a way to do it because these guys, individuals they might be, are still incredibly talented, and they're putting up wonderful fights. Case in points, Bronny's off the respawn, immediately taking down Ventry.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, it's kind of a benefit as well to Outcast if they can do this, if they can allow Bronny to stretch his legs a little bit and then pick off kills here and there and keep Fury from ever gaining some control in terms of their numbers. But yeah, it's an opportunity for Fury One as well. If they can just use their numbers, Wolfpack a little bit, they can take advantage and use the numbers to actually get control of the hill and kind of lead Bronny to his own devices elsewhere. Meanwhile, this is what I mean. They haven't got the numbers anymore to Outcast on this hill, and finally Fury One can get their first setup on a hill. And just like that, 4 players are now set up with distance away. Outcast have to slow down for a moment. They can't just allow Bronny to go flying ahead as per usual. This is going to be them having to break the hill now.
They're going to have to break the hill, but they've done it before. I want to see Fury One stand their ground and hold in tight. Now, Aimboot does move forward. He was kind of playing around with mid, seeing if there's going to be any stragglers from Outcast. And I love this. Sticking it to Outcast as they push in, taking them down 1 by 1. This is a hard hill to retake, but Fury One holds their ground. You love to see it. Still behind, though, 91 to 60, but it could be a little bit worse, especially if Outcast gets to scrap time the last remaining 30 seconds. We will rotate over towards New. It's going to be a 2v2 fight. Ventry, Aimboot, they're going to be opposite of Ness as well as Bronny. Bronny full red, forced to retreat, but you can take your time here. There's still, what, 4 seconds remaining on the opposite hill, but with last move moving in, now you don't have the luxury of time because there's going to be more members from Fury One looking to get the break. But either way, Outcast, they're currently here, and last move is moving forward to get the break.
Yeah, I was about to say he has got some reinforcements actually to his right. The nades, though, will take out Cellz and his teammate Bronny there, unfortunately for him. Meanwhile, of course, the player last move was left in the DBNO state. He's going to get revived. Now, just because of that miss nade, Outcast are literally going to have to try and retake the hill once more, and Fury One are gaining in the points area, and Outcast will simply have to fight their way through as a team again.
Right through like a team. I want to see them operate as a team. That's how they're going to beat Outcast. One of the things we mentioned at the start, right, especially for this series, Outcast, they introduced Bronny. Thing 2 no longer there. Now, I do believe that is a positive, but with only a week or maybe even less than a week to try and get reacclimated, to try and get your strats locked in place, well, it's tough to beat any team that has been playing as one cohesive unit for some time, and Fury One is that team that stayed together during the Fall Major and stayed together during Challenger, and it's making sense why they are coming back. And actually, Toby, they officially take the lead for the first time in map 1.
Yeah, they do as well on the middle hill, a difficult one to do at that. Now, finally, Outcast are going in for the push, but it's only 15 seconds left on the hill, so, you know, a questionable decision even, maybe, some might argue, is now the players, yes, the kill feed has been traded out in somewhat of a balanced point of view between the two teams, leaving a 1v here between, in fact, Jaled and, of course, Cellz, but the hill is far to the right, and that's the issue as well for Fury now, is Outcast have got a much better spawn, and they're going to be set up for this hill. They are going to try and break this this team before the setup comes through, and it might actually help them here. Bronny able to pick off that first kill and keep the numbers down. The reinforcements will be coming any moment for Outcast too.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to take note of is the fact that last hill, right, Outcast was there, established themselves. It was a 2v2. I did benefit them in that case, but Fury One did ultimately get the break and get the points to catch up. But Outcast, it seems, will hold their ground here, and that was because of Bronny, right? Bronny hitting some wonderful shots. His stats have to be through the roof, so really impressed. He got that honeymoon phase, something you have to take into account, right? Anytime we see a new player join onto a roster, in this case would be Bronny, well, they tend to play a lot better. That roster tends to play a lot better, and Bronny, he is playing on point. You'll love to see it. Jaled, torque bow in hand, only one more shot remaining. I don't think he got a single connection outside of splash damage. That's disappointing. Your torque bow players need to hit shots, especially on Ritual. It's a power weapon that can dictate the pace of a hill.
Yeah, Torque is huge on this map, and even in my European cast as well. Dragons is an example of a player from Europe, yeah, who was just insane with the Torque bow for his team, and often, I might argue, actually win maps for his roster. And so, in that regard, yes, Torque bow is huge on this map, and often perhaps not talked about enough by a lot of the players and whatnot, and maybe us casters are sometimes as well, because the Torque bow, I think, at least in my opinion, can have more of an effect sometimes than even like the Ember and Regency, for example, just because of how open this map can be in terms of, you know, you can see the entire extent of the map from length, from length to length in terms of spawn to spawn and whatnot, and so yeah, it's definitely an underrated weapon. Meanwhile, checking in with a score, of course, Fury One with the setup on this hill. A little bit of a split push coming in soon, perhaps, from Outcast, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a split push, which is something that does happen from time to time when it comes to Ritual. They could definitely band together. I think their biggest concern is obviously going to be Yachty and Bronny at the top ends, and with Bronny trying to clear that gap, well, he's going to get taken down. Now that just leaves Yachty. Ventry full red, though. Yachty sees that, and he takes advantage of it, but hey, the last lap is going to go over towards Fury One with last move. He can now push in, but actually retreats away, and that was because Jaled ended up falling. He was down but not out, and last move knows if I push this, I'm going to be in a 1v2, maybe a 1v3, which just would be the case at this point. He would just be throwing his life away. So I do like that maturity to be able to back up, reassess the situation, and push with this team. And look at the value he's already getting, picking up 2 players because he maintained his life and he didn't push in when Jaled was knocked.
Great push from Fury on that. That's exactly how you do it, right? And this is a fantastic finish as well. Finding Bronny, finding Yachty. And as a result, they're going to get the torp bow as the reward. They can start rotating across the map as required. And that's the thing. If you can push through a spawn like that, Taylor, as a team without losing lives, that shows an immense amount of maturity for me as a competitive roster. And they did that amazingly well, did Fury One.
Great stuff coming out from Fury One. Love that play. Again, the maturity coming out from Last move was beautiful. I don't know much about Last, but that impressed me. He seems like an intelligent player. And again, Fury One utilizing their numbers. But for Outcast, once again on the hill, but this time around, Aimboot, he's got the torque bow, but only gets splash damage onto Lava. But hey, that nade is going to connect, and Lava will die off. Now it's going to be one less player Outcast has to defend against the push from Fury One, but Fury One's numbers are starting to dwindle, and in fact, Jaled is the only player now inside of the hill, and unfortunately, he's going to get worked and read like a book in a 1v3. Not a lot he can do in that moment. Now, Fury One back to square one. Outcast over 200 points now. Still not as scary because Fury One just behind at 139, but Fury One is dragging behind. They've only taken the lead once during this map, so they've got to get to work, and they've got to get to work now, and this looks like a solid push already, getting the first down onto Lava. Yachty falls suit. Yachty and Lava now officially finished off, and Fury One, hey, to their credit, they lose control of the hill, but they take it right back in great fashion.
Yeah, with speed as well, right? Straight off spawn, flying across and breaking up. A pretty good setup, actually, from Outcast. That was hard fought for, remember, from Outcast. Bronny clutching up, essentially, previously to even get to that position that they were in. And the most important thing for them, actually, Taylor, is the fact there was a good 40 seconds left on the hill. They can get a lot of points from this. In previous hills, both teams have actually gone for hills with not many points remaining. And so these are the ones that really do make the difference. They now have time to start planning how they will rotate while getting these last points. And they're all together as a team ready to make that play across with that freshly spawning torp bow.
And it is going to be Jaled picking up once again. Now, I don't think Jaled's had too much of an impact with the torque bow. This is where definitely things are tense and where things are going to matter. If you can cover this 30-point deficit and get that much closer to 300, I think Fury One's going to be in a much more comfortable spot naturally. But already one shot sent flying. He doesn't connect. The second one not connecting either. Jaled control those shots. He's now closing the gap. He's getting in closer. One player is bleeding out. Unfortunately, he doesn't connect it. Bronny can rotate back, get Lava back in the fight. We're back to square one. Jaled now up close and 4 shots out and literally doesn't get any value at all. And in fact, Aimboot's already down and so is Jaled. Torque bow players need to connect. I feel Jaled was freaking out in that moment. He wasn't really taking the advantage and really taking the luxury of time. He wanted to get in the hill. He got anxious. He wanted to pick up any kill that he could possibly get. But honestly, if he just would have took his time, maybe he gets a connection and that hill plays differently.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps that comes back to the talking point of composure, right? Speaking of composure, look at Bronny's KD, 26-14 right now, bringing up to 27. And he's just been winning a lot of these hard shotgun fights, Taylor, on these really difference-maker hills. He's been the one to actually win out in the end and clutch up for his team. Loads of triple kills. But this time, of course, Jaled almost finding a second. Lava a little bit red there. But 20 seconds left on this hill now. Still, both teams are fighting for the scrap time, but they really do need to consider the next hill, in fact, as remaining points-wise, 51 to go for Outcast.
Yeah, 51, but hey, that's still doable. Outcast, obviously very close. Fury One, still doable for them to come back, but they're going to have to fight hard. They really do. Now, this is a hill last time around. You remember, Fury One actually was the team on the opposite end where Outcast is currently at. They were set up defensively. Outcast needed to get the break, and they were unsuccessful in doing so. Now, Fury One, they're going to have to be successful in this moment, and if they fail this push, well, it might be the end of this map number 1, and Aimboot getting that torque bow is going to be a big positive, but either way, for Fury One, they must push forward, and they're going to be doing so in great fashion. Look at that nade from Last move, again, proving his worth, taking down 2, and that was a critical break Fury One needed.
Yeah, he's been impressive this map, hasn't he? Last move, arguably the most impressive for his roster. He's clearly playing very smart, 15-12 right now, KD-wise, but he's doing a lot of the hard work, right? That double nade is a perfect example of that, and that nade comes in at a perfect time. They've not lost any players. They can now set up. You've got Aimboot with the torque bow as well. Wouldn't want him to lose his life here to Lava, and he's not going to. Quickly rolling back to the safety of his team and also the cover of the hill. You'd love to see it. And now they're gaining points on a roster of Outcasts that really are having to fly in now.
Bronny full red, unfortunately losing Lava. Now Bronny has to fight extra extra hard, and unfortunately, he's going to end up falling, but Fury One, fortunately for them, they'll get the last remaining points. Still down, though. Outcast within striking distance of closing map number 1 out. Now, the thing is Outcast getting rattled? Is Fury One taking the momentum back? Well, it seems to be the case, but just like that, Bronny popping off with his main man Cellz right next to him, hip to hip. Bronny full red, no worries. Cool, calm, and collected. Takes down Jaled, and it looks as if Fury One are not going to have any real estate on the map to get close to the hill outside of Ventry, who's going to have a couple of teammates to his right. But either way, this break needs to happen. If Fury One fails this attempt, this map is all but over with. Keeping the hill contested. Jaled moves in. Aimboot to his left. Ventry also just on the outside. Bronny down. Cellz gets hit, but Cellz is still up. Now it's up to the last remaining member. Last move. Now Ventry. He dips back, keeping the hill contested, trying to bide some time for his teammates to get back in, and actually almost takes over the hill. But unfortunately for him, lava is just too tough to handle. And now Fury One on their last leg, forced to get desperate and forced to push in.
Too close for comfort, isn't it, for Fury? This is one of the hills you can kind of just keep contested from the wall, but unfortunately, again, a nade that's going to take out the teammates of Outcast here. Surprising once more. Bronny, this time back on his screen. He's looking for that 1v, looking to still leverage his slaying power to see this map out. Meanwhile, though, Fury were able to push on through. Cellz was able to pick up the torque bow in the process. Still under a lot of pressure. The stick does come through.
It comes through. Great job from Fury One getting the break, but is it going to be enough? Can they hold on tight? Well, it starts by taking down Cellz, who is just so hard to defeat. And Cellz, again, you can't sleep on him. He's an absolute legend. He'll take down 2, and that's going to put Outcast within 10 points of victory. Fury One, they have no time to band together. They just got to push in. Jaled needs to hold his ground. He needs to take down Bronny. He needs to get into the hill. Currently contested. Just on the outside is going to be Fury One. They're not going down without a fight. There's only 5 seconds remaining. If they could just keep it contested, they can at least guarantee another hill. And there it is. Just 4 seconds remaining. We're going to the next one. Fury One refuses to die.
Absolutely, and 3 players were down for Outcast for a moment there, so it has bought time actually for Fury to set up somewhat on this hill. No power weapons are up currently for either team. It's going to be an all-out slaying fest now for this hill. 4 points for Outcast to get.
Oh man, starting to get worried for Outcast, right? When they were Hive, or at least a core 3 of that Hive roster now performing as Outcast, they would get so close to victory and then find ways to defeat themselves. This might be rearing its ugly head once again, despite Bronny being a great addition to this roster. Fury One showing composure, showing why the chat backed them up. 272 to 296. A big critical team fight underway. Jalen's got to hit these shots, but you gotta flake. You gotta flake from Lava, and Lava will take down 2. Ventry will end up falling, and despite it being close, despite Fury One bringing it to the edge in 17 minutes and 34 seconds, ultimately Outcast will get the win, but just a narrow win. That team fight was critical, and that flake from Lava solidified it. Bronny, the new addition to the roster, 30 kills, 18 assists, 22 damage done. Welcome home, Bronny. It's good to see you.
Absolutely it is, isn't it? I'm sure Outcast are very happy with Bronny's performance there. And it was almost too close for comfort, generally speaking, even earlier on, Taylor. I'm not sure if you noticed, but a lot of these hills were hotly contested by the roster, right? It could have gone either way. It was, of course, Outcast taking the majority of the points early on, especially as they started gaining quite a significant lead from the get-go. But it was oftentimes Bronny that was doing that. He was getting triple kill after triple kill. Sure. Not sure if you noticed that, but towards even the latter end of the map, of course you did. Perhaps the viewers as well were just looking for Bronny as well. I know I was towards the end there, because he was just challenging these 1vs constantly in middle map, not near the hill. Hey, I can take this. Hey, I can take this. Sure. I can take this. Constantly snowballing that numbers advantage, which probably helped out Outcast more than perhaps people realize. It's almost scary for Outcast that Bronny had to do that. Hey, what if you didn't have Bronny? What if Bronny wasn't performing up to the caliber he clearly is right now? What if he's having an off day? You know, and what if Lava doesn't clutch up there at the end? That was a little bit too close for comfort for Outcast, who are, no doubt about it, the strongest, the most favored team in this matchup. Yeah, I agree, but also take into account, and you said it best, Toby, at the beginning, Fury One was a roster that during pull play during the Fall Major, they took teams to the brink, right? They took teams to constant game 5s. So that brings great promise and good strength to Fury One. Now, yes, they're the favorite in my mind, and they're the favorite in your mind, but not chat's mind, I understand, but regardless,
Regardless, though, Fury One is still a talented roster that I would be pleased to see them in Pro League. I do think with time, with training, they can absolutely be one of the most contested or one of the most underdog stories in Pro League in general. Jaled, Ventry, Aimboot. Look, I've been casting over these guys for honestly probably for a couple years at this point throughout the Challenger Series. It's about time they get their big break. Last move, really impressed with him. He played so incredibly well. He had a lot of key moments. I love his maturity to back off at one point and then ultimately push in with his teammates. He picked up 2, and then his team, Fury One, was able to get the break. And then even his nade connections, right? Getting critical 2 pieces to get breaks when he needed to. Very impressed with last move. Speaks volumes about his overall playing ability. And really impressed with Fury One to keep composure. This was a critical moment. 296 to 243. They kept that hill contested at some points just with 1 member. If this fight goes to the way of Fury One, they might very well win this map. But it was that flank from Lava. He sees an opportunity. He's confident in his ability to push up, and he made it happen. Without that, Outcast could have very easily lost map 1, and Fury One could have been the victors. 272 to 300. Hey, that is as close as it gets in my opinion. And I do think, regardless of what the outcome was here, neither team truly has the momentum moving into checkout. It's just going to be a scrappy fight there just as much as it was on Ritual.
Yeah, I think you're right. I even the scoreline, right? Provided, of course, that Outcast did win that map, I don't think they'll be too flustered about how close it was. In fact, I think they'll be happy and kind of bigging each other up. Hey, Bronny, you were incredible. Keep doing what you're doing. Lava, that was an incredible flank. Keep going. And even Cellz, right? He finished 26 to 18 in the end.
Right,
so
exactly.
he had this kind of like shadow KD in the background, this shadow slaying power that's constantly resonating throughout the map. I know we were talking about Bronny constantly, but yeah, Cellz was doing really good work as well. And it wasn't even him or Bronny that clutched up in the end. It was Lava. So hey, all of these players essentially are doing work right now. It's really cool to see. And before we move on from Ritual, I got to give a shout out to Ventry as well. Sure. We spoke about him at times, but he actually finished 27 to 21
impressive
AD wise, and that's that's really impressive. Yeah, absolutely. But not only that, damage done 27.4k. That's the most in the game. A huge amount, right? At least 4k more than Bronny in the end. So it really goes to show that he is performing as well. You spoke about last move. We were really impressed with him. Fury are doing well. They just need to keep this up, and I'm sure they can get the map wins that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me kind of change my narrative from the beginning. You know, I mentioned Fury One are most likely going to be a team that is going to be all out aggression, but I think they showed great maturity and the ability to think through how they wanted to break hills, how they wanted to rotate. And I love seeing that. You know, I think strategically they're a wonderful team and kind of a mixed bag, more so than I thought they were going to be. I really did think they were going to be more so of just all out aggression. They weren't that at all, you know, and I think that's why it was so close, and their ability to not give up truly impressed me. So well done. And also take into account that was Fury One's map pick to start off this series. So clearly they felt confident there, and it did show. Now, we're moving into the map pick of Outcast, which is going to be on checkout. I do think it's going to be a pretty interesting one. We do talk about dominant teams heading into checkout, but struggling. You know, a prime example would be Noble. Noble was a team that for some reason on checkout just could not get it together, no matter how strong they were on other maps. And it could be the same thing here for Outcast. I don't think Hive was always the strongest team when it came down to checkout regardless. So it's going to be interesting. I do think Bronny is going to provide a ton of value though. And also to take into account, I'm curious where Bronny's going to play. Bronny, when he was playing on Oxygen, typically was the guy to fight for nades, to fight for the 1v spot up top. Will he be playing that role here this time around? Curious to see that. And if Bronny doesn't play the 1v spot up top, will he provide great value fighting on checkout stands? I think he would. So this is going to be a pretty eye-opening map, at least for me, to see how the roles are going to play out for Outcast.
100%. I was about to say, I'm curious now going into checkout. You know, we were bigging up Fury One as perhaps being a team that could take advantage of this, but no, Outcast, Cellz, and especially Bronny were outslaying the other team completely. And Bronny in particular were just flying at people, constantly looking for the 1v to try and benefit his team, which he did from start to finish. If he goes to that nade spot, is he going to kind of play the usual meta of just sit back, don't risk a push, don't get landed, don't get stunned, just kind of keep your utility and just hold out? Or will he kind of use that same mentality as we saw on Ritual and just fly at the player? it is doable. You can actually fly in a 1v position against against players. Question is, as you go up those higher ranked players, do you go against, you know, a 1v situation against KCP? That changes a bit because those kind of individuals really leverage that passive play, that defense, that cover advantage you have by not being the aggressive one. Maybe, just maybe, Bronny can work around that though against Fury One. I'm not sure again who plays that position, but I think Bronny would actually be the kind of player to attempt to get that 1v. And if he can, Taylor, I could see him winning it quite convincingly, quite frequently, and that would give his team essentially a huge advantage on this map if he can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Provides a ton of value. Love watching him play, really do. Now, I hype up Bronny a lot, but again, much respect to Cellz, Lava, and Yachty. These guys are incredible. Love this roster. I'm going to say it now. I think this roster is going to be a lot stronger than the Hive roster was before. Thing 2, as excited as I was to watch him play, and as talented as he is, I definitely don't think he brought as much value on that Hive roster than at least I was expecting off the beginning. Great job, though, from Bronny. Look at him. He's not playing the 1v spot. He's now on checkout stance. He fights for plat, picks up 2 off the rip. Now it's up to Ventry by himself, and he was the guy uncontested on nades, 1v4. Hey, not a lot you could do in that moment. And Outcast, well, they're going to let him know, look, guys, that Pro League spot, it's ours. This is a qualification match after all. And after that round number 1, Outcast has no reason to believe they're taking a loss here.
And look at this for a strategy matchup as well, in particular. Ventry, that Star Slayer going down nades. Meanwhile, he's not going to be against Bronny. He's going to be essentially playing passive, perhaps, now, and kind of playing the usual meta. Meanwhile, Bronny will be leveraging all the value he can bring to the team. You see it there in numbers, 3 kills straight off the bat. And kind of, if you're not going to push in nades, that is the best player to put Bronny, I would argue, for this roster, is to just throw him in right in the center, either, you know, middle checkout if you're going super aggressive every single round, or straight over nest. It looks like they're going to go for the latter each and every time, likely, for Bronny. In fact, Cellz is right next to him as well, so here we go. Again, Bronny will try and get the kills he's looking for.
And I like that Ventry is no longer going for the nades up top. He's going to be joining his teammates, and it seems to be paying dividends already. First blood onto Bronny, the guy who had the most impact in round number 1. Yachty, though, is going to pick up the snipe, and an opportunity to get a nice body shot is there. Aimboot will fall, and it looks as if his teammate of Jaled is not going to be able to get the pickup, but Yachty, he's not done yet. He's feeling confident, but the misroll will be his undoing, and Yachty probably could have pumped the brakes there. Yes, it would have been a 1v3, but he felt justified to make that push. Now, I passed the question to you, Toby, because obviously you got more experience playing and competitive-wise, and you know checkout like the best of them. Should Yachty, or did Yachty need to make that push on a Jaled?
That's the question, right? With the downs that were there, it's kind of like if you can somehow pull it off, that is the round, right? But it's kind of an all-in move. Given that he's against a player on right hand and whatnot, it's questionable. Maybe, just maybe, that was a split decision to try and make it happen. It's kind of a doomed if you do, doomed if you don't situation.
All right, let's see how it's going to play out, as it looks like Fury One starting to heat up. They said, show love to us. Come on, we just took you the distance on Ritual. We can beat you here too. Lava 1v3 not going to happen. And just like that, 2 rounds in a row, Fury One have the lead 2-1.
That they do, and this is what I was talking about, right? That 4-man to check out clock tower. This is the kind of strategy that would lend itself to a roster like Fury One, many would argue. Now, of course, the hill actually rotating now over to electronics. Curious to see if any peculiar strategies, unorthodox strategies, will be incorporated here by the team. It looks like no. We're going to go straight back to the 4v4 over at checkout. Let's see if Fury One can keep this up.
Let's see if they can. They definitely have the composure. They made that very apparent when it came down to, obviously, Ritual, but first blood coming out, Aimboot down. Quickly answer, though. Cellz ends up falling. Lava now has the snipe in his hands, and Jaled throws out the instance. Despite getting hit markers, nobody's able to capitalize off of that, and in fact, Lava will get it down himself, lighting up a shot, misses, gives Jaled a haircut, forces Lava to retreat, reassess the situation. It looks as if we might have a bit of a standoff here. Fury One, it's hard to push that sniper when Lava is connecting, but Outcast want to go ahead and reposition themselves to electronics, it seems, setting up for the overtime hill.
Yeah, I love this. They've got the snipe from Lava, right? They can just cover that map control area of platform. Lava can keep that player's head down. The incense are gone, so they can just focus all their energy on this hill that's about to spawn, right? And here they are, set up first. Lava still pressurizing with that snipe. Great cover usage from Ventry on the pillar to make sure he can't be sniped while keeping his Lancer up. Meanwhile, they might actually get it down. Yeah, they get 2. Oh my goodness, this is huge for Fury. Out of nowhere, they've given themselves the opportunity now to win this round. Lava full red. Can they clutch up? A quick revive. Can that benefit them? But no, it cannot. Fury One will continue on. And that raises questions to me immediately, Taylor. Lava was clearly far back, just trying to use his snipe, just giving himself the max amount of opportunities he can to pop ahead. But no, the rest of his team were too far up, arguably. Look where Bronny is on that cover. You cannot sit there, Taylor. You will get damaged out eventually. That is an all-in position from Bronny. It's going in with the assumption that, hey, my teammates to my left to pressure and find some kills, or even Lava as well right up the back. But no, they went together and Fury One capitalized on that.
Jaled taking the opportunity to get the incense once again, throws him out. Oh, he's had them all right there, jumbled up. It just fell a bit too short. Well, the advantage for the incense now gone, and it's already a 4v4. So in my opinion, that is a big blunder from Jaled. If he connects, hey, good for him, but he wasted all that energy to get onto plat. But hey, maybe all is not lost. Can they get out with the sniper? It seems if they can, they will pack together, and it's still 4v4. I'm actually astounded nobody's lost their life yet.
I love this, though, from Fury One. They've responded so well by getting this snipe, and they're getting everyone out. Look at this. We spoke about maturity earlier. Every player is working together, holding hands, essentially, as they try to escape. We've got the snipe. We do not need to go down. We don't need to get into shotgun range. And they're all out now to the back checkout, and Outcast have to pull something off to try and get some advantage back, get some value back for this round, because it's 4v4, and they're a power weapon down.
Kind of like a Navy SEAL operation, man. Again, Fury One getting out like they did. Love to see it. Good teamwork, man. Good revive.
This is perfect. I'm so impressed. They're using that snipe, Taylor, to get access to the nades, keep their heads down, and then going to rotate back and take their time and basically snowballing that advantage, leveraging it, right? Not getting too cocky. But no, here's Cellz and Bronny getting the downs and not able to get those downs, of course, because they have no power up into the nade. Can Fury now use the nades to get back in to checkout?
The only thing for Fury One that might become troublesome is I know there's been quite a few downs given their way. So if maybe you might have a couple of players who are on their last down and out, but that's a great shot from Aimboot as they reposition for the overtime hill that pops up in just 8 seconds. And there it is. I was talking about it. There were so many downs and so much damage being outputted from Outcast that Aimboot, unfortunately, was on his 3rd down and out. So therefore, he was finished off. But Cellz pushes straight into... But the overtime hill was capped from Outcast in a blunder, despite a beautiful poetic round coming out from Fury One. Outcast says, hey, all we need is 2 members to get on the hill. This is the objective now, guys. Hey, killing is now done. You just need to get on the hill, and Outcast does that well.
That was such a good round. Look at Cellz. He knows exactly what's going on, right? He knows the team are rolling left to get into the hill. He just needs to cause a ruckus and make everyone look at him. Perfectly done from Outcast there, and a great recovery around, which really Fury One were winning from the get-go. Well played indeed.
Played indeed. Jaled tries to get his incense. This time around, Cellz is ready, and I like that push on the Ventry, and he'll actually get the finish. And baits out the team pickup. Beautifully done, right? Because last move, he wanted to get the pickup on Ventry, but unfortunately, that ended up being his undoing as well. And just like that, Outcast back in it. 3-3. They're all tied up, and the beatdown has begun. And Aimboot tried to get away inside checkout stand, but even that couldn't save him.
Could have easily been 4-2, of course, going into this round, and it's impressive to say the least. A lot of this trash talking and emotes, if you will, from Outcast doesn't seem to be facing Fury One. Honestly, they are really keeping it together, aren't they? Both teams now have gone back and forth exchanging between Nest, or rather Platform, playing for Plat, and also playing for that snipe on right hand. Both teams going back and forth, kind of varying this up. It's not just a straight 4v4 every single round. There is strategy from both teams being incorporated here, and Fury One are certainly not lacking in that department.
Let's get him.
Right, Fury One, have they lost momentum? Have they lost composure? Well, I don't know. Outcast is definitely playing well, and the fact is that Cellz and Bronny did such a good job counteracting Jaled on the platform. That last round was so good. This time around, though, they don't apply as much pressure. Yeah, they get the shots out. They do get it down, but it's not as impactful. But Bronny, though, slides in, and he'll trade his life. But Aimboot will pick up 2. It's a 3v2. Cellz forced to reposition. Aimboot takes over Plat. Lava, though, in a 1v2, brings it to at least 1 less player from Fury One, but it's just simply not enough. That instant to get 2 for 1, to get Bronny as well as Yachty, truly saved the day for Fury One.
Yeah, absolutely so. And a really, really good play there from Aimboot to actually get the insend. They were pretty relatively unscathed, I want to say, jumping on that plat, despite all the lances and smokes coming in and whatnot, or the smokes used to try and get closer for the roster of Outcast. But of course, very close in the end between the two teams who's going to come out on top. And it is literally neck and neck between the two. Neither team is faltering now. They want to just go all in for the 4v4 on checkout and go guns blazing in, essentially. But I say that Outcasts are doubling up in the checkout area to look to see if they can play for that right hand through snipe. Meanwhile, Aimboot, last move, have to be careful so that doesn't surprise them.
It's the slowest round we've had yet. Slowest start for sure. Are they able to gain an advantage here? Flash is thrown, though. Nobody was going to capitalize it off it just yet. We do see Plat being messed around. There is a down Aimboot. Finished off. Bronny feeling confident. And that's the thing about Bronny, isn't it, Toby? Like, if he sees an advantage, if he sees a moment where he can strike, he is going to take it with reckless abandon. Getting that first blood was critical because that standoff could have lasted quite some time, and Bronny might see an opportunity to either press up onto Ventry or even get the incense himself because the rest of the players from Fury One are distracted. Yeah, there it is. Picks up the incense, but quickly, just like that, Cellz is last alive. That 3v3 fight, it is traded out, and Ventry and Ness are in a 1v1.
Literally out of nowhere, this comes down to it. Cellz is going to... Oh, he's not even going to bait the snipe. He just instantly picks it up, and it does not work. He goes all in for that, and it is cost him dearly. Wow. I'm surprised. I was literally... As I was casting there, Taylor, I was about to say, oh, I love this from Cellz. He's going to bait the snipe, but no, he actually picked it up in the end. And perhaps that's kind of just it's a sign of disrespect almost to me, kind of assuming that Ventry wouldn't expect it or wouldn't be ready to answer him early enough to get the down. No, Ventry was there. Ventry was immediately responding and gets the down. And that is honestly a situation where Cellz is probably kicking himself because he knows he has the potential to just have a more basic vanilla 1v1 between the two and risk a shotgun battle, right? Instead, he goes for the all-in play of quick pick in the snipe, out of nowhere, and boy, does it backfire.
Ventry showing his worth not only because he was in that 1v spot at the beginning. He's now joined his teammates for the 4v4 fight on checkout stands. He had the most damage done out of the entire lobby when it came to Ritual. Even here, he was in that big scrappy 3v3 fight to get the advantage back over to Fury One. Ventry playing so incredibly well, and last move too, just like that, he will take the advantage for Fury One. It was a 4v3 Outcast at first blood, and now Fury One leads 3-2. Cellz, he does in fact have the Nash out. He does have the sniper, but is it going to be enough? Well, he's getting pressure 1v3, and Toby, just like that, it is going to be a 6-3 victory coming out from the way of Fury One to tie up the series 1-1, and not as one-sided as we were thinking. So impressed with Ventry. MVP for a reason. 10 assists, 5 kills, and 9,800 damage done. And again, he was the guy who repositioned. He fought for the 1v spot up top. They ended up losing that round convincingly. He readjusted, and Fury One wins with a good victory, 6-3. They tied up 1-1. Vasgar Escalation coming up next, map number 3. Things just got interesting. And welcome back, everybody, to Split 1 Relegation. What a great series we have at hand here, Toby. Tied up 1-1. Ritual came down to the wire. We did talk about it, right, when it came to the pick and bans, that we did favor, or maybe, should we not favor, but we did say Fury One had a great chance to take the first 2 maps, and they just nearly did it, but they did lose Ritual. But hey, this was a brilliant showcase of what Fury One can bring to the table strategically. I think they played this map very well. Outside of this blunder where Outcast played incredibly well to send Cellz as kind of really a distraction, right? Capture that hill. But regardless, though, I think Fury One showed a lot of great things on checkout.
They did. They did. It might actually be kind of the narrative of this series, but that word composure again, right? And maturity above all else, perhaps. This roster of Fury One really impressed me there on that map. We were talking about it during the break. This was, of course, a slip up from Cellz there. against Ventry, and it's kind of just it goes to show, don't underestimate Fury, right? Absolutely do not underestimate them, because right there they play checkout like a professional team, right? They gained an advantage, whether that be the snipe, whether that be the nades. They all rotate out, you know, no one's left behind just getting picked off, so they lose the numbers advantage. No, they're all together. They come back, of course, in that round we were talking about, where they were using that snipe to get the nades. Rory took checkout control in the end as well. And this is kind of Fury One for me. They're so impressive actually this series. Their teamwork, that they're not really making many mistakes as individuals, right? Nothing has really just made me think, oh, that was just a huge mistake. What are you doing? In fact, check out right there. It was Cellz that made the mistake in the one in that 1v situation with a snipe pickup. Instead, Fury One winning 6-3. And clearly, back to that maturity point, all the emoting and whatnot from Outcast did not phase them at all. They weren't dishing any of that back, were they?
Yeah, no, I mean, you even go back to Yachty making a bit of a mistake himself, where he had the sniper and then the misroll straight into, I believe it was Jaled, who ended up chunking him and taking him down. That was a round for Fury One. One thing that you can kind of take into account is Fury One is seeing those mistakes, and they're capitalizing off of that. That's a scary thing when you're a new roster. Again, you know, you do have the core three coming out from Hive on this Outcast roster, but Bronny's introduced, as well as he's playing. Still, if you're playing against a team that is well-oiled like Fury One is, strategically playing sound, it makes it tough. It makes it tough for you as a new roster to kind of get the win. And this next map, Escalation, is going to be pretty telling. I do benefit Outcast here. I think they are going to be the better Escalation team. But Fury One has shown me that, again, strategically, they're a fantastic team. And that is going to play a big role into how they communicate and how they move around the map when it comes to Vasgar objectively. So this could, in fact, maybe benefit Fury One in a way. So I'm going to be looking at this more unbiasedly. I think this could be a bit more even than I was even expecting off the start, Toby. So Outcast, this should be a wake-up call. Losing that checkout in the way they did, you know, they felt confident. They were showing love every single round they won. Fury One didn't show love until the final round that they won, and they knew they had secured the victory. So Fury One seems like they got their head in the game, Toby, and they won a victory here in this series.
Yeah, full disclosure, Taylor, I don't think we spoke about maps, but I would have gone into the series 3-1, honestly, in Outcast's favor. But
I think that's fair.
I just wouldn't be sure now banking on that because of the way Fury One are playing. In terms of checkout, there were some mistakes, right, from the roster of Outcast, of course, when Bronny wasn't able to just carry on through and kind of leverage that slaying ability through the middle as he was doing a ritual. The team didn't look anywhere near as strong as it did on map number 1, right? And curious to see if that will carry on in map number 3 on Vasgar. Typically, the stronger team has a huge advantage in Escalation. It's very rare that you see kind of the underdog win this one, right? It's more cut and dry historically, as we saw in the major as well. So maybe, just maybe, this is the opportunity for Outcast to rip this series back under their control.
Yeah, definitely so. This is normally the turning point, and in this case, Outcast can absolutely still win the series 3-1. It's well within their wheelhouse. I don't expect them to get too phased from losing that checkout. I really don't, but Fury One, they seem to be rock solid. Great start, though, for Outcast. They do win the initial. They have the 2-1, forcing Fury One to fight back in an attempt to regain control. If 6 and 7, Jaled and Aimboot can, keep this fight at bay, they do have a bit of a flank, as well as actually all members. It's going to be a 4v2. They win that convincingly, and now they can wolf back over towards A, forcing Bronny to rotate back to help and assist Lava, who actually will give up that hill. And player 5 last move is even playing for C. This could be a domination shortly if Outcast isn't careful.
They have to be careful, right? They're stuck on this corner, and now they need to pick between either the A-hill or they go right instead. They're going to go and try and stop this A-hill from coming through. Cellz has come around the back through spawn to Lancer out. All the players are here for Fury One. Oh no, Bronny and Lava have been taken out. The pressure remains. Fury One will continue their offense over at the A-hill. B-hill, though, going back the way of Outcast.
And even though Outcast stays alive here with a great play from Yachty coming off the spawn, instead of fighting for A, which would have been an easy move to take, he goes to B because he knows where the numbers from Fury One are being put. But even so, now Outcast is going to constantly be fighting for control, right, to regain control, because Fury One, they take it back despite Outcast still having the lead. I know they can't be feeling too confident just yet, but it does start with winning the fight over here, taking down Jaled, taking A, but now they still have to branch out and figure out, do they want to go for B, do they want to go for C? Well, it seems like they might be wanting to put all their eggs in one basket to head over towards B. Not a bad play. Fury One can see this as an opportunity, though, to send 5 and 6, Jaled and last move to pressure into Ness, who's going to be holding his ground on A. But either way, even though Outcast wins the tank fight, again, Fury One should still keep the advantage with the 2-1 if they can get on A. But hey, Cellz does win one fight at least.
Yeah, Aimboot has literally ran across the center of the map to regroup over the A hill. He does not want to cost or have a triple cap go the way of Outcast, given how close the points are. So hard fought for right now is this round from Outcast and Fury One. So close in score. Outcast able to take that A hill nonetheless. C hill still under control of Fury One meanwhile, and the players coming off respawn. Now the triple cap will be blinking.
And I got to give this round up to Cellz. Cellz truly instrumental in the success here. Again, you know, Outcast is going to constantly be playing catch up. Fury One has such a distinct advantage, but Cellz held his ground on A despite being in a 1v2. Without him, Outcast most likely would not have found success or even been able to stay in this round. Love the fight though from Fury One. It's not over with just yet. Lava has to win this 1v2 because player 5 last move is now going to be on A, so it's far from being over with. But a 1v2 last move forced to hold his ground, and he does. He takes down Bronny. Oh. He's showing his worth. He's going to push it on to Cellz. Cellz now is going to be getting peppered from the steps, and just like that, Fury One wins the round. I thought it was over with, but Outcast finds a way to throw it away. Fury One wins round 1. What a great round.
Oh my goodness, that's a huge round from Fury. Wow. What a comeback!
I thought it was over.
When we were already setting up, right? Cellz was pulling it through, and he clutched up, but no, it all flipped. And honestly, when that triple cap started going towards the COG team, I was thinking, hey, a lot of players are still alive. You know, the players are coming off respawn, but Fury One won every single shotgun battle, Taylor, that they needed to, with some incredible wrap shots, a double kill as well from the SK. I'm not too sure actually who that was who clutched up. It was actually Aimboot who clutched up over on the C hill. In fact, with an awesome shot over, 2 shots, in fact, 2 gibs over from the spawn. Amazing stuff from Fury. Really, really good. And even in that round, Taylor, for me, they were so impressive because they were not giving away silly deaths. Yeah. Right? They weren't getting caught out. They weren't, as on a rotate, the last player wasn't getting caught off by Outcast. They're not really giving Outcast many options other than just simply try and outplay them.
Absolutely, and I think Outcast is banking on the fact, you know, we've got 3, you know, talented star-studded slayers. We can really just kind of outmuscle Fury One, but really not the case. Again, Fury One, a roster that stayed together, and it is being shown with their composure and their ability to, you know, keep the rounds as competitive, despite it looking as if the round is completely over with. No, Fury One is just, you know, they stay in it. Same thing they did on Ritual. They kept Outcast at 296 for the longest time, ultimately to bring the final score to 300 to 272. Fury One can't be counted out, and even in this round, look at that. They win the initial. They already had the point lead, and Outcast doesn't even have a hill. In fact, they're just now regaining their own home hill, and Fury One is fine with this. They're pumping the brakes. They put 3 over on A, and they're going to stop the push, at least for Outcast, on that side of the map. They do need to readjust and send a player to help player 7 Aimboot on the tank fight, but, I mean, they're holding their ground. They're playing very well.
Yeah, they are. I think overall, Outcasts have the edge in terms of escalation, in terms of the rotations. They're kind of getting ahead in terms of the pacing, right? It's almost Fury One being reactive at times. But, of course, Fury One is still getting the kills. They're still able to slay out and keep themselves in the game. And it's reflecting now in the second round. They've got a bit of a score lead. In fact, double the points of Outcast currently. It's Outcast now trying to come off spawn to respond.
Definitely trying, but it's one-sided. I mean, Fury One leading 173 to 80, and you know, they're not biting off more than they can chew. They are, in fact, playing a bit more passive. You know, I agree with that. I think that's smart, but maybe Outcast just opened up a door. 3 down Ventry, last alive, and he's quickly going to be in a 1v2 against Yachty as well as Cellz. Not easy. Ventry ends up falling, and just like that last round, Outcast will take this round in a pretty fantastic fashion. They do get a touch, though, to their credit. Fury One once again not going down without a fight. This is still a round they can win, but it looks as if the buck will stop here. Outcast finally capping A despite Fury One trying to stay in it. And hey, Outcast just as strong in round 2 that Fury One was strong in round 1. So great job. We're tied up 1-1.
Yeah, a very thorough triple cap, if you will, there from the side of Outcast. They had all the players in the right location, right? It was going to be next to impossible for of course, the roster to actually even try and come out of that triple cap situation, unlike the last time. A lot more difficult. Outcast made it happen. And it was all started off actually from Cellz, the player who's picking the weapon right now in the center. It was an incredible double kill from him. His movement was on point, and that's kind of exactly what we said before. It's kind of what they need to rely on, it seems like, at this point, Outcast, because there's just no mistakes coming out from the Swarm side. Yes, they're getting out rotated, right? The COG team are ahead of them oftentimes in that rotation around the circular map of Vasgar, but Fury One are still keeping up with them, and they're not making it easy for them.
All right, bit of a different breakout this time. It is going to be a 3v3 in between C and A, and it looks like Fury One is going to be the aggressors. Jaled and Last Move pushing up. Player 7, Aimboot, is going to be watching mid. Bronny, though, obviously not shy at asserting his dominance onto B. He'll go ahead and back up. It's going to be a 1v2 shortly there. And in fact, Outcast is actually going to flex their muscles even more and push it onto C. Fury One taking B back into their favor, so we do have some trading of objectives. Still kind of the initial, though, Toby, as both teams are trying to find their way and really solidify that they did in fact dominantly win the start of this round. And it looks as if it's going to be Outcast, but Fury One still fighting objectively. The stragglers are the ones that hurt you on Vasgar because they can get a decap without you knowing. They can even get a full cap, and in this case that was Aimboot who was straggling along, taking down Lava, now forcing it, or at least trying to force Yachty back. No way this domination happens here. What is going on? Why is this round so chaotic?
I'm confused as well. They have the players, or did have the players at Outcast to stop this coming through. A hill still will hold as well. Fighting continue there, but the C hill will actually remain for now for Outcast. But check the numbers. In fact, Cellz is flying at 2 right now on his own. B hill has been regained for Lava. Wow, you're right. A lot of chaos. I'm surprised even Cellz was flying at 2 there as an example.
Yeah, this is interesting. Fury One was just, a hair away from a domination. Outcast, they lost control. Now they've got it back in their favor, but Fury One once again taking B. It's kind of one of these rounds where neither team, I think, feels comfortable and feels in control. Despite Fury One having the point lead, I don't think they feel fully solidified. They haven't been able to plant their feet with a defensive setup. This is probably the most of a defensive setup they've ever had, but even so, they can't stop Outcast from getting a decap, but they do shut down Yachty. Cellz will get the trade. It's going to be a 2v2. It's still not over with. Fury One can take back the 2-1. Cellz drops, but he's back into the fight. And it still is a scrappy one. That's a trade. Now brought down to a 1v1. Cellz versus Last Move. You're still fighting against constant spawns of Fury One. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Aimboot's going to take over A, and he's in a 1v against Yachty. Again, neither team able to fully have control outside of Fury One having the point lead.
It's neck and neck, isn't it? Still, Cellz is trying to fight his way through. That fight is still going on at A. No, but the player will fall in form of Aimboot. Meanwhile, score lead still in the favor of Fury One as it stands. So they do have time, Taylor. They just need to making sure they don't make any mistakes now and give away a potential triple cap opportunity.
Interesting stuff. Fury One so close to victory. They have chosen to park the bus, which not a bad play here. Yachty falls. That's one less player Outcast is going to have to push forward, and with just 8 seconds remaining, your last hope really is going to be player 1 Bronny in a 1v2, but unfortunately not enough time for him to make a move either, and Fury One will win and bring the score 2-1 in the final round of the first half. But again, that round was chaotic. It really was. Fury One, what kind of saved them, what gave them that massive point lead is the fact that they had 2 hills, whereas obviously Outcast didn't have a hill to their name, and that gave an opportunity for the team of Fury One to take a pretty decent point lead, which they held on to till the very end. But that round number 3, Toby, again, like I was saying, neither team was able to plant their feet and truly control the pace of the map. It was chaos through that entire round 3.
It was. It truly was. And I think it's at that point, Outcast just relegating themselves to trying out slaying, right? You can see Cellz still confidently pushing things. Meanwhile, as well, with Bronny in particular in that mid-round point, he was really good actually avoiding the 2v1 from Fury early on. Aside from that, yes, I think it's Outcast kind of relying a little bit too much there on the slaying power over Fury One. Meanwhile, Fury One, again, they yes, at times they're being outpaced for hills, but they seem to be at the right place at the right time when it comes down to the right hills, and it's ending up in a lot of points advantages building up for them, right? And in that round and the previous round, this was the case. Outcasts need to change that up because they should not be trying to gain and claw their way back once they lose out on the score early on in rounds.
This could be maybe a troublesome spot for Outcast to be in. I only say that if Ventry feels confident enough to pressure into the 1v against Bronny, because Fury One does win C, and now we do see that 1v starting to pop up. Bronny against Ventry. If he wins this, Fury One can take this round right here, right now, but maybe he's wanting to wait for his teammates. I do like the attempt from Cellz, though, once again, trying to hold his ground on the opposite end. Ventry not pressing. I think he's waiting for his teammates to win this fight on the opposite end. Honestly, though, this is a very low, not really no risk on Ventry at all. He could have easily pushed Bronny there, and honestly, without any risk at all, because Fury One already won the opposite end. And who knows, if he wins that fight, Fury One wins the round convincingly in a way of a domination. That is a bit of a misplay. I mean, it's not a bad play per se from Ventry. There's no reason, to kind of criticize and hate on the guy for, kind of pumping the brakes and holding his ground and waiting for his teammates to join him. But again, being confident in that play is something you expect from a pro caliber player. This is what these guys are trying to be. He should have pushed Bronny there, and he eventually dies to Bronny. That was, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical.
No, it's a great debate, certainly. They have to be careful right now, Fury One, because of this B hill. It's going to start blinking the triple. Players are coming off respawn. Great shot from Aimboot again. He's making... oh my god, a double as well. Fantastic stuff. And I was actually shocked earlier at some of the shotgunning, even in spawn, he was pulling off. Meanwhile, Fury One winning clean cut on their A hill. Well played indeed from Fury One. Very quickly, back to that situation, of course, with Ventry in that 1v position. I think it ultimately came down to that decision. The fact that he was trapped on a long cover with not much cover at all, to speak of. Meanwhile, Bronny was in a very wide cover. He had plenty of options in that situation. He could have escaped very easily. Meanwhile, if that push didn't work out for Ventry, if he was instantly damaged out, he didn't really have much to do but just carry on with the push. He was like an all-in position. He'd be forced in. So, yeah, on paper, he should have tried to go for it, perhaps, but it was a very difficult push to pull off.
Yeah, and I'll touch more on that too, because I got to take a step back, because there's a lot of factors that came into that 1v1. Despite me wanting to see him make that push, maybe he gives up an advantage onto A for Bronny, but more on that in just a bit. It looks like Fury One about to take the final round of the first half. Aimboot taking down Lava, despite Lava getting a bit of a trade, and Aimboot chooses to actually beat Lava down. This round is completely over with, but again, for Fury One, they did not beat down at all during that checkout until the very final round. This time they're doing it mid-round. So, hey, good stuff, but hey, make sure you win at this point, right? If you're going to be that confident, you want to poke the bear, you might get momentum now, or at least a little bit more fire towards Outcast. Hey, good stuff, I guess, for Fury One. We'll see if it pays off. But again, going back to that Ventry push, hey, fair enough. If he does push that, Bronny kills him. Bronny already had the neutral hill. He already had the tank hill. If Ventry dies there, then that does open up a scenario where Bronny is on the flank. He would have most likely got a decap on the A hill. Fury One then would have had to backtrack. That could have discombobulated them. So, Ventry pumping the brakes there, probably one of the better plays he could have made. If he does make the push and wins, hey, it's high risk, high reward. You do get the domination. But either way, I think it was perfectly fine for him to stop in place as he did. So I do take a step back. I think he played that fairly well. But regardless, though, Ventry is still going to be in a 1v against Yachty on the opposite end. We'll see if that pops off, because Fury One confidently pushing up and taking, or at least attempting to take the D hill.
This is very interesting indeed. A super amount of aggression here in the first round of the second half. Meanwhile, though, Cellz and Bronny flying through to get to that next hill. Meanwhile, this could be a potential 2v1 right now on Ventry over at the E hill. Yachty keeping his distance. Lava as well. They do not want to mess this one up. 4 seconds on the clock, looking at that D hill to try. Nope, they're not going to try and hold it and try and have that team fight. Fury One will straight away take back their home hill. Question is, do they know about the secret man on the right? Apparently not. The first kill comes through for Cellz. He will be dropped very quickly thereafter, though. Bronny just to the right, essentially 1v for a brief period of time. As a result, Jaled will go down. They're making it a little bit too difficult for themselves, our Fury, right now. Missing out on that secret man and falling to Bronny there at the start. Here comes some respawns. Of course, Lava straight off it. Bronny trying to bounce his way to victory. Not going to happen. Fury One will hold it on just about. Cellz straight off spawn, but he will be dropped. Yes, Fury eventually will get to the destination of the FL, and they will cap it up.
Yeah, they do cap it up. They take the 2-1. They close out the point deficit, or at least they can start doing so. They did have Jaled, who came off the respawn. Yachty was all gas, no brakes. He was pushing forward from E. He wanted to get on D as soon as he saw the tank fight getting kind of, one-sided to Fury One. But once he saw player 6 Jaled, he said, I can't really make this push alone. So he waits, and ultimately Lava does in fact join him. So it's going to be Lava and Yachty now pushing forward to challenge that of Jaled, who is keeping them at bay for the most part with the bolt talk. But I like that cross from Cellz. That's going to at least give the confidence from Yachty and Co to push forward. But Jaled already putting Yachty down, and Lava falls shortly after. And just like that, Fury One, they've got 4 members down. They're going to get a domination, and they're going to take a 4-1 lead on Vasgar.
This is absolutely staggering, just like that, and they were neutral actually in terms of the points department. I was about to say, hey, lovely double cap, see it out, but no, the triple cap was coming through because they're winning in these team fight situations, especially in the second half. Despite how difficult eventually it was to get out of their spawn after a close triple cap situation, they still saw it through in the end. Bronny isn't able to leverage that ability that we've been talking about since map number 1, right? Cellz, yes, he's had some good moments, but it's not been enough so far in each and every round, and there's been so many opportunities now for Outcast to take rounds, but they've just generally missed out on. The clutch ups from Fury One has clearly given them a sense of momentum, right? They're getting a bit more anime, just seeing some emoting coming out now from Aimboot mid-round, as you mentioned.
Right.
This is really something to keep an eye out for now. It might be a game changer for the entire series. In fact, Fury One seem to be a different team to that map number 1. Outcast likewise so.
And whoever's observing, if you don't mind, can you pull up the scoreboard? I just want to take a peek and see who kind of is struggling.
Lava, Yachty. 413, 414.
They've got damage, they've got assist. I mean, they're definitely getting the team fire. But I think the big thing to take note of is, again, those kills that you pointed out, Toby, when they are put into a spot where they need to get kills, where they need to hold a hill, they're simply falling a bit flat.
Yeah, and we're what, 6th round now as well, right. And they've only got 4 to their name each. Right. It's not enough in my opinion. It really goes to show that yes, Fury One are getting the kills from somewhere. I'm not saying it's just them, of course. It's definitely a team situation for both sides, but yes, Fury One are coming up a little bit more clutch in the slaying department across the board now.
Yeah, definitely so. And you even go back to that last hill that ultimately Lava and Yachty ended up losing, despite Cellz having the cross, right? Lava, Yachty, they lose that fight. And, hey, it's unfortunate. But, again, damage is great. Damage is currency. But at some point, you have to get kills in order to hold a hill or stop a push. And if you're not getting those kills in those critical moments, well, all that damage, it really is for nothing. Great round, though, this time around for Outcast. Definitely slaying out. Fury One, though, despite the aggression, despite the great kills coming up from Outcast, Fury One still threatening a 2-1 lead in terms of the hills, but it seems as if they actually do have to back off of this top hill, and that's because Cellz and Co ended up pushing up. But hey, no worries, where they're going to be lackluster on that hill. They find an opportunity to push in with Aimboot and last move up top, and they're going to be going against Bronny and Yachty, which Bronny has already fallen. That brings it to a 1v now as Ventry pushes up to try and hold down this hill. And wow, last move actually wins the fight on the opposite end in that 1v2. Lava's last alive. Fury One, they've got the map presence and the objective, and if last move can take down Bronny here, Fury One can close the gap, but actually no, he's going to go ahead and back off.
Oh, this is the storyline for Fury right now. Every time they have a situation where it's a 1v1 or like it's not so much in their favor, they back off straight away. And I kind of like that because it does show a level of discipline that you kind of need to bring. Because right now as well, just given the scoreline, they don't really need to challenge it. They can wait for the spawns to come off. They know they're winning the team fights. They can regroup and then take the fights to their opposition. They're doing that right now as well over on the D hill. Triple cap blinking once more. Cellz forced into 1B over at the E hill. A double down between the two, crawling for the hill. Oh, it's so close, but no, if you look at the bottom left, the kill feed does light up blue. Outcast do hold on to their home hill points lead, still just in the way of Fury for now.
Just now, but not enough, right? Outcast taking the 2-1. This is still their round to take, still their round to lose. Fury One got to come back with a vengeance. If they can quickly take over the F hill, well, they will be back into the driver's seat, back with an opportunity to win this 5-1, and there is going to be a decap on the opposite end. Player 7 Aimboot trying to hold his ground, and he does against Cellz. Actually, this could be it. Fury One takes the 2-1 back in their favor, and despite player 1 Bronny getting on the opposite end, it's simply not enough. Fury One just needs 1 hill. They need to hold on for 10 more seconds, and they are absolutely going to do that. Toby, Fury One will take a 2-1 lead over the favorites of Outcast in this series, and they will absolutely be in the driver's seat in this series. And I totally thought Outcast were going to be the favorites. I thought they were going to absolutely be the favorites here on Vasgar Escalation. Turns out to be completely the opposite. 5-1 victory. And as I said, Fury One leading 2-1. Last move, your MVP for a reason. I didn't know him heading into this series. I know him now. He's a great player. I love watching what he can do. He's smart, he's educated, and he pulls up in clutch moments.
Absolutely so impressed, so impressed from all these players on Fury One. And it's not just the cliche fact that they're 2-1 up now as an underdog, it's just truly how they're playing. Like, qualitatively, their decision making is really good. I know we were talking about a little bit critically of the decision perhaps of Ventry to not push the 1v. I was kind of in his defense, and that it was a little bit difficult to make the play in terms of that, you know, that Cosm, that 1v1 situation. But no, generally speaking, I'm really enjoying Fury's just decision-making in general, every single map now. What did it start off with, Taylor? On map number 1, they weren't making any mistakes. They're working as a team, pushing spawns constantly on the hills, and not just going guns blazing as perhaps Bronny was doing, right? And they kind of managed that quite well to actually get to the scoreline they did. We go to checkout then. They're getting the snipe plenty. They're huddling up as a team. No one's kind of getting caught out at any moment where they've overextended or they've not rotated in time with the rest of the team. And then on that map, a map and a mode that you would think Outcast would have it, you know, really easily. You know, if anything, they'd be really composed going into Escalation. No, instead, it's completely Fury One that do the business. 5-1 the final score. They're rotating as a team. Yes, they were getting out-rotated on the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. But from then on out, Taylor, it was anyone's game in that department. You really took plays like this from Cellz to try and clutch up, because Fury One as a team were all together playing so well as a team. Slaying-wise, it came together. They all pulled up their weight in the end, if you will. You saw Aimboot start to clutch up with double kills like this. It was really impressive, and all of a sudden that energy that we saw from Cellz and Bronny on map number 1 in particular wasn't there to be seen, and it was in fact Yachty and Lava that was getting heavily outslayed in the KD department.
Yeah, definitely so. Yachty, Lava for sure getting outslayed. Again, a lot of damage. I think as team-wise and really as team members, they definitely pulled their weight, but as individually, whenever they're playing obviously for Hills, fighting to keep Fury One at bay, yeah, they definitely fell pretty flat, to say the least. Fury One obviously leads 2-1, but regardless, though, I think it's a matter of, again, Outcast was expecting to come into series as the heavy favorite. They really are trying to outmuscle Fury One, but Fury One isn't budging. They're really not, and their teamwork is truly fantastic, and it's what is winning them this series. You can definitely tell there's a great line, a great divide between Fury One and Outcast when it comes to teamwork, and that makes sense. Fury One has been together for quite some time, for at least over a month at this point. So they have set roles, they have set strategies. They've been getting better and better chemistry wise. Again, they're a team that refuses to break up. They had close series during the fall major. They took teams to distance, especially in their pool. Fury One is a team not to be messed around with, and you said that best, Toby, at the beginning. Fury One is a team that can take anybody to the distance, and they're doing it here against Outcast. Outcast is 1 map away from going down to the loser bracket.
Yeah. And to remind folks at home who are only just tuning in, they took to map 5, Noble and Elevate in the major in group.
Impressive,
yeah. Did Fury One. And that in itself is very impressive. And hey, it goes to show that they've kept their composure. We were talking about it, the Pratt going from a really high intense pressured situation like a major to a week later today. Fury One, they've got it on point. Individually, they're all there. No one is choking, right, to use that word, right? There's no blatant mistakes where they're just falling to the pressure. If anything, it's Outcast. Some of the players might be doing exactly that. Instead, Fury One are playing amazingly. And of course, map number 4 is Regency, Taylor.
Sure.
Just stylistically, Fury One, this is their map, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of how they want to play. They've been either all in or all out. There's no in between. They're not. They don't get it down and then overcommit and get traded out too easily. No, instead, it's Outcast that have to play out of their mind to try and get the trades when Fury One are making it difficult on the defense. Yep. Many times I saw downs were had from Fury One where there was a potential chain revive for Outcast presented. Instead of just committing that and going for the give trade, they get it down and instantly roll back and space themselves in these really close team fights, which probably was a really big component in Fury One winning the team fights, the amount of team fights that they did. So impressive. It's kind of just like a mastery of basics right now for Fury One. They're not doing anything too crazy, right? They're not doing to do a contrast, an extreme strat like Rise playing 4-3 nades on clock tower down low, right? No, Fury One are doing the basics. They're not really out rotating Outcast at times. Instead, they're really working well as a team. They're wolf packing correctly, and they're not making silly mistakes and shooting as a team. I'm really impressed. Yeah. I am really impressed with Fury.
I'm as well. Fury One is reminding me of Elevate before the new meta, before that new tuning came into play, where Elevate started to taper off. That was when they lost to Oxygen because they just couldn't deal with the aggression, and they just really didn't, honestly adjust to the new meta whatsoever. But before that, right, when Elevate was able to still play in that slower meta, that slower pace style, their teamwork really did make the dream work. And I think for Fury One, they remind me a lot of Elevate at that point in time. And that roster, that Elevate roster at one point was in first place in Pro League at the beginning, and they were looking like the standout team who came from the last chance qualifier. They were looking like they were going to make the biggest impact in Pro League up until, again, that meta shift. But at this point, Fury One is reminding me of that roster, and that is a scary thing for any of the competition. I do expect Oxygen to, not Oxygen, my bad, Outcast, to once again try to flex their muscles and outslay Fury One. They can take advantage of that by establishing themselves on the hills early on, so their rotations need to be crisp. If Fury One is able to set up defensively, Outcast can absolutely struggle here. And one of the members that is going to hurt Outcast in terms of the damage department has to be Ventry. Ventry has been outputting so much damage. He is truly an all-around player. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan of watching him play throughout this series. So Ventry is going to be the biggest impact, and he's already doing it here in the middle. Yeah, he's not picking up any eliminations, but he's getting the damage, and as soon as Outcast pushes through that choke point to head into Rose, hey, at that point they're already weak, and it pays dividends because Fury One, they've got the early points, but one thing they need to focus on is, again, getting on the new hills. And at this point for Outcast, they're going to take advantage by establishing themselves for spawn control on the next hill for P2. This is something Fury One has to readjust and at least adjust to it very quickly, because right now Outcast, they need to be taken down.
Yeah, they do. All eyes on Bronny with the Ember, of course, to see if he can put the same kind of impact as he did on map number 1 on Ritual. Turn him round. Jaled just trying to flank through. Last move getting the down on Aimboot. Sure, no. Will they get the trading vibe? No, they will not, actually. Only now will it come in. Bronny is there, but no. Full red. He's got the Ember on his back. He has to pull something out of the bag, and he's doing exactly that. 2 kills. He had no business getting a sack in there, but he did. Ember lost, but does it even matter? Outcast, they have the numbers, and they're chasing Jaled down for position for this next hill.
Facing him down, Cellz trying to hold his ground against Jaled. Jaled, unfortunately, is going to die in that moment. Cellz will take him out, but either way, for Fury One, they will pack up. Cellz gets a trade that's big, at least helps Lava out a little bit. Actually helps him out a lot, especially with Bronny getting the cross. And Lava will go and stagger out last move and push down to help his teammates. As obviously Fury One still getting the close spawns. They're kind of getting blessed in a way, but Outcast still in control of the hill. And again, this is where they're going to capitalize by getting spawn control, by getting early establishment on the hills, forcing Fury One to try and go for the break. And if you remember on Ritual, Fury One, yeah, they would get breaks, but they weren't as dominant with penetrating the hills as they were if they established themselves on the hills early on. So for Outcast, they're doing exactly what they need to do, and they might take the lead here shortly.
Meanwhile, though, Fury One are still here. They've chain revived their way to get to this hill, in fact, for all the way from that spawn. Outcast will take the short spawn finally, and Cellz will push on through with speed. Aimboot, big 1v1. It's a trade between him and Lava. Cellz will win it in the end. 15 seconds left on this hill, and it looks like we're all pretty much neck and neck between the two teams now, looking for that next hill. Can Jaled get away with the M-bomb? No, he cannot. That's a huge kill from Cellz. It's going to make a huge difference going into this next hill, especially considering the number situation. That will ensure they get the short spawn. They're going to have the setup as well. Outcast, of course, getting there first. Meanwhile, Fury One ready to knock on the door, just probably waiting for their fourth player to respawn and go right through the front door at the bottom of the steps.
Chalk in hand, Aimboot wanting to place it just behind that of Bronny. Good placement, forces him out, takes a bit of damage, but doesn't get down. Either way for Fury One, they got exactly what they wanted. They're now deep inside the hill, and Outcast once again forced to go for the break. Aimboot rotating around. I don't think he was expecting as much competition once he rotated out that way. Maybe even he was thinking he could push up and get onto a flank, but Outcast was ready to go. Jaled, though, 1v2. He's got some help. Meat shield in hand. He ends up dying. Those Cellz will take him down. He's got to be careful, however, because Aimboot has spawned behind him, but for Outcast, it looks as if they are, in fact, going to get the break. Maybe. Will Ventry be able to hold it? Maybe. Ventry takes down one. Ventry takes down two, and again, this guy. Can he do no wrong, Toby?
He's clutching up, isn't he? Yachty just about finding that 1v in the end. Short spawn did go the way, actually, of Fury One, I believe, just in the background. Meanwhile, Aimboot just comes straight through the front door again. They're going to have the points lead. They're going to have the short spawn. Fury One will win that scrappy skirmish, if you will, for the remaining points of that hill, and very well done indeed from Ventry. You mentioned him at the start. He started off slow and steady, but clearly he's getting the all-important kills straight off the rip.
Rotate over towards P3. Obviously, a battle will ensue as both teams want to kind of take over control. More importantly, Ventry is set up to maybe pick up that M-bar. Outcast, though, I guarantee you they're not going to let it go for free. Besides winning the hill itself will win you the M-bar, and that's exactly what they're going to do. It seems that's going to be 2 down for Fury One. They can't confidently push up just yet. Last move is going to try and just hold his ground as long as he can in middle. Lava, though, already knows he's here. Lava will just go ahead and pace him out. Hey, if last move doesn't move, well, Lava doesn't have to move either. It's up to last move to make that move, right? He's the one who has to push forward, but again, he's waiting for his teammates to push that top side, and finally, he will push up. He backs up, in fact, and this is an opportunity where he can get onto the backside of one. He can't, though, and Yachty also is going to get that fresh M-bar. So Fury One, most likely, they are, in fact, going to be finished off on this hill, and Outcast should be able to at least come back, but I like the effort from Aimboot and Ventry. They definitely put up a fight.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did, but a really good haul from Outcast there. Much better from them. They still have the Ember, of course. 40 seconds to go, so they can really get a good chunk of points now on this hill. And of course, usually with center hills, Taylor, as we know, a lot of the time they can be a bit scrappy, right? They can the points can become somewhat evenly shared between the two teams as they go back and forth, as they can be very hard to set up on. Meanwhile, if Outcast can actually get a good chunk of points on this, the remaining points, and win this team fight going to the next hill, they could get the leg up they need.
Hey, you wanted this.
He's keeping it contested. I like that from Fury One. Take out the outside players of Cellz. Yachty now is forced to go up, but unfortunately taking too much damage. He's out of the way. The scrap time is going to ultimately be one from Fury One, and they did get the M-bar out just a little bit earlier, so good job from them. As they do rotate over for the next hill, Lava and Cellz have kind of pinned themselves up in the back end of the spawn, but for Fury One, they're okay with this as they can constantly just collapse in. Cellz, though, tries to pop off, make a move, he can't. And that's going to give Fury One a little bit more real estate to flex their muscles and continue to push up on the last remaining members from Outcast, who's currently in the hill. That's going to be Bronny and Yachty, trying to hold it down for their team, but slowly but surely Fury One continues to close the gap. However, Yachty, though, putting up one hell of a fight, taking down one, taking down two, going for the third, and Cellz will refresh the fight to help him out, and Ventry will follow suit, despite Fury One looking so good on that retake attempt to establish themselves on the fresh hill. You got to give it to Yachty for holding his ground long enough for Cellz, for Lava to get back into the fight. Outcast will take the lead for the first time in map number 4.
100%. That shot grenade to the right, Taylor, was perfect from those two players, just setting up such a crucial team fight. But now they've got the short spawn, and here are all the Fury One players at the front. Nades will be going in right at the back. Yachty runs early, will not be damaged out by them. Meanwhile, Lava getting caught out on the staircase. So very quickly, Fury One will get cover control over onto that hill, and they'll push out the Outcast players. Meanwhile, Lava getting the down. Can Bronny get up close and personal and rip back control?
Definitely going to try. You got to give it a good effort. 28 seconds remaining. Cellz, though, he's going to be coming on the flank. He'll take down one. Good movement, but can't get the second onto last move. And Outcast will officially give up that scrap time. Fair enough to them, and they'll rotate over for new. Now, Fury One, I do believe, is going to be able to get the M-bar, and yes, they will. And that's going to be beneficial, as they do have to break Outcast off of this defensive setup. Still close, 136 to 135, only 1 point separating the two. My only worry, though, for Ventry is he didn't have much of an impact on Ritual with the Torque Bow. I'm curious, how much of an impact is he going to have with the M-bar here on Regency? Definitely going to provide a benefit here. This opening pick would be huge, but misses the head of Bronny.
Yeah, he's trying to keep heads down at the very least, but not well enough. Jaled's going to get caught out there a little bit too far ahead and out of downs there. 3v4. Ventry really needs to find a head now to keep this up. Otherwise, the Outcast players will keep going wider and wider with the Lancers. Down still coming through. He's so desperate to look for it, but it's not coming through. Now the revives do come in. Last move still alive, though. And the revive comes through for Aimboot now as well. They're keeping this up somehow. As Jaled has come off respawn, they should have numbers now to see this through. Bronny trying to clutch up over the window. It's literally a blind fire across the window from both players. And Aimboot will be the one with the victory in the end. Somehow, some way, Taylor, Fury gets the control of the hill.
Yeah, I mean, still, though, Outcast can absolutely take back control because they have that refresh. They do have spawn control, but I'm impressed with Fury One. Once they entered the hill, they haven't given it up in, over 30 or 20 or 30 seconds, and that's why they do take the lead substantially, about 175 to 136. And Outcast, despite having spawns, it doesn't matter. Fury One now taking them apart piece by piece, player by player, and ultimately Cellz last one on the map, and that's only because he spawned up. That was an impressive retake for Fury One. You know, I was looking at their spot and I was thinking to myself, okay, cool, they're in the hill, but Outcast is still going to pick them off one by one and push in, because look, for every Fury One member that is lost, Outcast is easily able to outpace them because they have the refresh, they have the closer spawns, but Fury One didn't die. You know, they've got to die for Outcast to have the advantage, and Fury One refused to die. That was so impressive.
Yeah, very clutch from them. Very clutch indeed. Ventry, big kill in the middle now. That's going to give them a numbers advantage for this next hill. 4v3. Big points lead built up now, and they can surely stagger the rest of the players here. Of Outcast, Bronny hiding over the top. No one's still dying yet for Fury One. They're keeping all their players alive. 4v2. Lava trying to fly back in to bridge the gap. Not going to happen. Yachty will be dropped as well. And that is there. Fury, the 4 players left alive, all ready to set up for this next hill. 50 points left on the hill, Taylor. And check the score as well. Yeah. We're going into a 100-point difference when just a moment ago before that corner hill, it was neck and neck between the two.
It was. It was. And again, I go back to that corner hill, as you mentioned. Fury One just 10 toes down inside that hill, refusing to budge, despite Outcast having spawn control on the outside looking in, which normally that would mean you have the advantage, but not the case whatsoever. Outcast, they're going to start popping off, though. Great job from them to take down 3, make that 4, to give them at least a scrap time. However, will they be able to take control of the spawns? Well, it seems as if they will. And Fury One, just like that second to last hill, they're going to try and get themselves inside this hill and not back down. Despite Outcast having spawn control, Fury One, we've seen what they can do already being inside the hill. This one's a little bit more difficult to hold on to, but if they can win off this hill. So Outcast, the pressure's at an all-time high.
Absolutely so. Should have short spawn control as well, Outcast, so they keep this kind of setup and let Bronny do his work with the M-bar. Looking just connect to some degree, not going to happen. Bronny almost getting down there again. This is a good hold so far from Fury. Nothing really happening for the roster of Outcast just yet. Bronny trying to change things up though now, looking to see if he can get at least an up A or a back A. Not going to happen. Yachty down again. We go back and forth, trading damage. Bronny still not hitting the shots. There we go. Finally the body check comes through. Does that give them the opportunity to push through? No. It doesn't seem like, as Fury are still getting these close kills. They're still winning the close fights. Wow. But can they get short spawn? I think they might be able to. Yeah, they did. They did get short spawn.
This is crazy. Yeah, massive. Fury One, like you Outcast can't wait for the M-bar. Like player 5 is kind of wanting to. Bronny, thought about it, but no, you got to push in now because it's do or die. Every hill at this point is do or die. Outcast, they are absolutely staring down the barrel of a loser bracket, and I don't know if they can avoid it. I really don't. Even if they start popping up, but unfortunately, it's simply not enough. Jaled holding his ground. Bronny's doing everything he can to take him out. He does, but Fury One's still too strong inside the hill, and now it's up to Bronny Bronny in a 1v1. He's going to be taken down. Lava's going to be picked up. The chain revives are in, but on the last down and out is Lava. He's finished off. Bronny, he's going to end up falling. So will Cellz. Yachty dies off. 25 seconds remaining. Fury One on the cusp, on the precipice of being in Pro League. Outcast might be able to get one more touch, but they for sure are not winning this map. Fury One refuses to back down. 295 to 147. It's getting close. Outcast might get a touch. Yes, they do. Bronny's in, finished off, but Jaled is there to pick off one, to pick off two. And will he get the third? Yes, he will. The three-piece to complete it. 300 to 147, and it is going to be Fury One entering into Pro League. Congratulations, boys. You earned it.
They absolutely did. What a stunning performance there on Regency. Even on every single map, let's be honest, they performed so well. Aimboot 18 to 9 in the end, KD-wise. Check the KDs very quickly, though, of Bronny 12 to 14. One of the keys to victory the whole time for this Fury One roster was to literally ensure that Bronny doesn't do what he did on map number 1 and run around and outslay. Instead, he finishes negative Taylor, which for me is huge. It says so much just there on the scoreboard that they did not... that Bronny was not able to do exactly what he did on Ritual, and essentially, I wouldn't say carry the roster of Outcast, of course, it wasn't that much, but no, he made a huge difference to that roster, especially considering how close the score was. And that reminds me, that was the only map they won, Outcast, and it was as close as it was.
Very close.
Fury One, you cannot argue that they do not deserve to be in Pro League after such an incredible performance from them, both on paper and in terms of the gameplay we just saw.
Yeah, outside of that map 1, they controlled the series. They absolutely did. We'll see the box score in just a bit, but I mean, you'll see it from the scores. I mean, Fury One didn't back down, and even that map 1 keeping the team of Outcast at 296. If it wasn't for that flank from Lava, that round easily could have went to the way of Fury One. This could have been a 3-0, guys. So, yeah, this was not even close, in my opinion. Fury One dominated this series. They are absolutely the best team. And, again, like I said before, they're giving me vibes of that Elevate roster that made it out of the last chance qualifier in a dominant fashion and then had such a successful start to Pro League only to taper off. But this roster has truly impressed me. They impressed me and made fans during the fall major and clearly won the fan base. They ended up backing them up. Hey, Toby, we went with Outcast, right? We went with the star-studded roster, the star-studded players, but we kind of slept on the boys of Aimboot, Last Move Ventry, and Jaled, who clearly wanted to be pro-caliber players, and they are pro-caliber players as they are now in the Pro League. I really am impressed. Teamwork-wise, slaying-wise, their ability to hold their ground in tough spots. I'm talking, 1vx situations for the win. Like, they did it all. They truly were the total package in the series.
They were. I am just, again, the word impressed. Thoroughly impressed with how they performed. And just given the context as well, the kind of how we were setting up the storyline of going into this was the pressure on the team, especially of Fury One, after such a high-pressure situation of a major, coming to this huge opportunity with 3 spots. They didn't even need the 3 opportunities. They can just win the first game against the definite strong favorite in this matchup. Yep. And it's kind of like me and you, Taylor, we went with the old generation of players, right? The head honchos of the past, and instead it's kind of the new generation that showed that they can really turn up. Sure. They don't necessarily need the extreme experience that we were talking about that Outcasts have. Instead, they're composed already, they're disciplined, they're mature, they're not making silly mistakes as individuals, they're working well as a team, and it reflects in the scoreline. Just check that, 6-3, 5-1, 300 to 147. I mean, just generally speaking, even on the maps themselves, Vasgar, Regency, I would not have voted against Outcast. There you see it. Fury One just pull off an absolute clinic here for everyone to see.
Yeah, absolute clinic. Well done from them. And again, staying together for well over a month, I would have to assume. Again, a team that competed during a Challenger Series, ultimately during the Fall Major. They stayed together. They didn't make a roster change. And it paid off. The teamwork really did make the dream work, and Outcast could not outmuscle the roster of Fury One. They're going to be the first team qualified, and they'll round it out at 8. So we have Rise, Noble, Pioneers, E United, Rebel, Elevate, Pittsburgh Knights, and now the newly acquainted Fury One. Congratulations. A big congrats. Now, for Outcast, not done just yet. They do drop down to the loser bracket. They're going to have to compete against Zero Tolerance. So it's not going to be easy. They now have to win 2 series instead of 1 in order to make it into Pro League once again. So they'll have to win Losers Round 2 and then ultimately Losers Round 3. So their day has just got started. Where Fury One, well, their day comes to an early end. Fire and Ice Team Queso, though, will be coming up next. That's going to be a fantastic one. A lot of history between those two. But again, congratulations, Fury One. Toby, they impressed us. I can't wait to watch them in Pro League. They've got time to, even more time now to develop their skills, hone it in, grow tighter as a unit. I want to, yeah, they have just under a month, literally, like what, it starts, Pro League starts January 11th. So they've got a lot of time to get better and better, and I think they will.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, their basics were on point there. That's kind of what I spoke to about, right? Mastery of the basics. They were super composed. They were doing all the nitty-gritty, the things you expect of really high-level competitive players to do. And they were playing base strats really well. Right? And they were doing the full checkout every single round. That was paying off really well. They have that kind of lockdown. For me, for Fury One, it's kind of just they don't really need to work on those things. They need to start working on things to actually outstrat some of the top teams. Because yes, they're really, really skilled as individuals and they worked really well as a team. But now if they want to give themselves an advantage going into the Pro League and really improve themselves, that's kind of what you need to work on, right? Kind of start rotating a little bit earlier, perhaps sometimes on Escalation, right? Start playing a little bit more unorthodox on execution. And generally speaking, I think they were good on control as well for the most part. It was kind of just the slaying issue on map number 1 that kind of hurt them in the end.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my advice to them, is just go over VODs and things and kind of get a bit more unorthodox and make sure you master those things as you have the basics, which you have thoroughly shown you have today in this match.
Well, no doubt MVP for me has to be Ventry. He held his ground. He played so incredibly well. Damage done was just absolutely incredible. Ventry, a great player all around. Love to watch him play today, and I think he's going to be a shining star in Pro League. Same thing for Last Move. You know, first time watching him play, and I got to say I was not disappointed. Once again, congratulations to Fury One. For Outcast, hey, there's still a chance, but now your day just got a little bit longer, as I just said. Hey, coming up next, it's going to be Fire and Ice and Team Queso. A bit of a rivalry there, only because of Choppy. We'll break that down and more when we come back. But until we do, hey guys, go get a snack, go get a drink, whatever you got to do. Tonight is still young. 3 more series still to go. You don't want to miss out.